Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we are gonna watch Impact Shooting's newest video. If you guys don't know, he released one a while ago. If you're coming from this video, you know. Long story short, he released a video basically saying that you should buy 6 Creed instead of 243, 300 PRC instead of 30-6, 300 Win Mag. It was really controversial, okay? I made a reaction video to that video. Make sure you watch that first, but he came out with a new one that says, did I get it wrong? Old classics versus modern cartridges. So, one of the things that I mentioned was getting confused before is he made it pretty clear in the intro that he was talking about if you have a buddy looking to get into long range for the first time. I'm guessing we as Americans said, listen, buddy, you start bagging on the 30-6, we may just come find you, okay? We will find you. I'm guessing that's probably what happened. But let's jump into the video. We're going to watch it together. I have not seen it yet. It just came out a couple days ago. Haven't watched not one single minute. So let's jump right into it.
Did a lot of people miss the point of our old classic cartridges versus modern alternatives? But
he says we missed the point. I might be right.
Because they're still shooting I'm gonna get into trouble.
There he is throwing shade immediately.
Discuss some of the misconceptions regarding our last video.
That was fair play. That's something I would have said for sure.
So I had to make that joke in the beginning. It is what it is. A lot of people misunderstood this video. I really wanted to make that video as a guide for you guys to help new people coming in to understand twist rates, ballistics, chamber specs, and those kind of things. And I spent a ton of time crafting that video, creating visual assets to explain to you guys how these things work.
And then he got flamed like crazy.
That message, because I said multiple times in that video that this video was 100% aimed at new shooters buying new rifles.
That's what I thought, yeah.
That you should sell your trusty old rifle to buy one of the modern alternatives, although a lot of people interpret it as such. So please don't do that. Just watch the video for what it is. If you feel like you're never going to sell it, then perhaps don't watch the video. But listen, importantly, when you're watching the video, don't go onto your own narrative. I know we're all super passionate.
We have a tendency of doing that, don't we, boys?
Feedback regardless. Now, very important, I did replace the batteries on the clock, so thanks to the 5 million people that pointed that out in the last video. Let's address the Hornady thing. A lot of people were like, this is a gigantic Hornady ad. I think I mentioned the word Hornady once in that entire video, and that was referring to a dinner that I got invited to. And I actually wasn't invited by them. I was in.
People are so mad about this whole Hornady thing, dude. Whether we like to admit it or not, Hornady has done some really, really good stuff lately. They've had some frustrating things. I know people don't like the hype, they don't like the marketing, they don't like the whatever. But ultimately, they have done some pretty gangster stuff, ultimately. They do make a hell of a product overall. They do a lot of little things really well, even going down to critical duty and critical defense and their handgun ammo and things like that. They're a good company. Not that there aren't other good companies, but he's right. He did not go on and just nut ride Hornady the whole time. A lot of Hornady cartridges, coincidentally, but those are really the only new ones that ever come up.
Invited by the company that developed the 22 Creedmoor Horizon firearms, and they actually did a deal with Hornady together so that Hornady can make the ammo, and that's long story short, that's basically what that came to. So I have zero working relationship with Hornady on this channel, so I would love to understand that.
Hornady sponsor me.
If I do have a relationship with somebody, I'll be transparent about it, like when I tell you that this video is brought to you by MDT Sporting Goods. They make
We're gonna skip this one.
Timber systems and accessories for your rifle, people, and I have a working relationships. Otherwise, at the end of the video, you'll also see some sponsors. So, I don't believe so. That is because I have zero relationship with them. Now, in fact, in my reloading inventory, I have hundreds of boxes of yellow bullets, okay, burger bullets, and those I purchased with my own money. In all of my inventory, I have 5 boxes of Hornady bullets, okay? I did shoot Hornady bullets for a long time when I got into precision rifle, when I was shooting my Ruger precision rifle, then onto Alexa, which is my custom rifle, which we will get back to just now with regards to barrel life, because a lot of people pointed fingers at barrel life with regards to my previous video. Now, in my inventory, I have 5 boxes of Hornady bullets. One is 143 grain ELDXs, and then I also have some of the new VT bullets in stock. And the new VTs are 100% just to do some testing and low development.
I'm pretty curious
and
about the
also seeing
VTs too.
what the baboons think of them. And to be honest, the initial thoughts is not good for the baboons. Now, you've got to give credit where
sure.
credit is due. Hornady have done a phenomenal job, okay, marketing these cartridges, putting the weight of their big company behind it. And a lot of people also said, Pete, these new cartridges won't be available in 10 years to buy. Now, I am so confident.
I don't believe it, bro.
In the 6.5
6.5 Creed's here to
and the newer
stay.
ones being available in 10 years. That
300 pair
put
C,
one
7
of my
pair C, yeah.
rifles on the line.
Most of those are here to stay.
If 6.5 Creedmoor has died in 10 years, I'm going to be giving away one of my rifles. And I bet you a lot of these people that commented that won't do the same. So that is kind of how I feel. The cartridge is phenomenally popular.
I'd give away my Creedmoor.
I've done a video why they're easy to hate, because it has so much going for it. So in all honesty, credit where credit is due. I think they've done a phenomenal job with bringing new stuff to market, and I just see it going up in popularity, to be honest. Now let's chat about barrel life. So many people said these new things eat barrels, you know, it's gonna be terrible for the new shooters. With the exception, I would say,
barrel life is one of those things that's so case by case almost, right? Because if you have a 6.5 Creed, or you have even a 308, dude, if you have a 308 and you sit down at the bench and burn 40 rounds through it at a time without any breaks, and I shoot a 6.5 300 Weatherby, but I shoot one shot and then wait for it to cool down every shot, I might outrun you on barrel life amount of rounds, right? If you are shooting your 308 just cooking hot over and over and over again, and I'm one shot, pause, one shot, pause, it's really possible. Maybe 40 is not a good example, but you get the point.
Of the 22 Creedmoor, which will chow barrels, okay? It's a tiny, tiny bore with a lot of powder behind it, extremely high pressures, high heat. That's gonna eat barrels, okay? But still, even that cartridge, most people that watch that video are probably hunters, and they're not gonna buy a 22 Creedmoor. Let's take the 6.5, okay? My first rifle was a 6.5. I've had many 6.5. I currently have 6.5s, Creeds for that matter. I got on my very first rifle in excess of 2,500 rounds. It was still shooting phenomenal. I sold that rifle. I believe that rifle is now over 4,500 rounds, still shooting great. My first custom rifle was also
that seems like a lot.
Creed. I had 3,200 rounds down the pipe, and it was shooting smoking groups. Low STs are still winning matches with that. Now let's take 3,000 as a round number there. Most shooters, okay, will never shoot 3,000 rifle rounds in their lives, okay? Even if you're a hunter, on the 22 Creed side, let's say you get 1,500 or 1,500 rounds down the barrel. Say,
even if you did, let's say you shot factory ammo, okay? With 1,500 rounds of factory ammo down the tube, buy 1,200 rounds and buy a different barrel to throw on it later, right? The barrel burner argument to me has always been kind of silly, unless you are a competitive shooter or something like that. From a hunting sake, bro, particularly hear of it with like the 6.5 300 Weatherby, I'll go back to that 26 Nosler, right? Whatever. If you shoot enough factory ammo to burn one of those barrels out, odds are you can afford a new barrel, right? Stop it, dude.
it takes you 200 to settle in the rifle, and then you have the remaining 1,300 rounds left to shoot antelope and varmints and things. That is a ton of rounds, even if you add the occasional plinking in at the range. Most people realistically do not shoot out barrels, okay? It just doesn't happen. And if you're the kind of person that knows barrels are just another consumable, as are brass and bullets and powder and primers, then it's really not the end of the world, because in the greater scheme of things, if you're getting 3,000 rounds out of your 6.5 Creed, those are 3,000 awesome rounds. And at 2,500 rounds, you run a bore scope through that, you see where kind of your barrel is, and you order up a new barrel. It's really not that expensive, given the greater scheme of things. If you look at your rifle, chassis, bipod, optic, muzzle device, a new barrel kind of is what it is.
You can buy a damn good barrel for like $400, $500, which isn't nothing. But again, you get the point.
Never ever shoot a barrel out in their life. So I do not think that should even be a concern for you. If you're a competition shooter, you're not shooting a 6.5 by 55 anyway. So you have to shoot one of the new things because they just dominate competition. and competition is usually the proving ground for these new cartridges, and you kind of see what works when the top shooters in the world gravitate towards a specific cartridge, and that kind of answers your question. What is the best, the most efficient? And guys, us competition shooters are also concerned about barrel life. You know, I'm shooting my 6-dasher relatively slowly, but that is not really for barrel life. That is for different traits. Perhaps I can jump into a video as to why you
Competition shooting is just such a different game.
That will be very helpful to a bunch of the guys that hand load out there. So guys,
one thing I've never been able to do that you hear a lot of comp guys talk about, I've never been able to touch off a round and watch the trace in the scope. I've never had a bench gun, and I've never downloaded it or anything like that. But I can pretty well. One of the stories I told on an old video, I'll just tell it real quick, okay? Antelope hunting, I'll keep it short. Antelope hunting, 327-yard shot, eyes stayed open, didn't blink, did nothing. I saw the impact of the bullet on the animal. Obviously, that's not super far, but I didn't have the opportunity to see trace at all. Point being, obviously, probably not going to see trace under those circumstances. I feel like if I really settled in with that gun and I'm proned out and I'm rock steady and whatever, you name the rest, and I shot, that gun would be my best chance of seeing trace. I've never seen trace. I also haven't tried super hard to see it per se, but I really want to. I've seen it on phone scope, obviously, but never in the scope. And I bet that's something you would talk about. And I really want to do that, but if you guys have any tips, let me know.
Guys, that's kind of a wrap up of our last video. Some of my thoughts, again, a lot of people missaw what the purpose of that video was. It really was as a guide to help new shooters get on board and just, you know, buy the right thing the first time. And I'm not holding a gun to your head and saying, you got to sell your 270 and go buy a 6.5 Creed or a 7 PRC or whatever the case may be. Also, I did drop the ball in that video. I skipped over 338. A bunch of people asked, Pete, no love for the 338 Lapua Magnum. So what do I think about the 338 Lapua Magnum? I think it's a phenomenal round. I think it's awesome, especially if you have a custom chamber. Man, the 338 absolutely rocks, and I can't wait to get my 338 and make some content for us on the channel with regards to that cartridge. It's going to be awesome. In current times, everybody is against our lovely hobby that we love to participate in, whether you're a hunter, a long-range shooter,
This is true. There's a lot of stuff coming after it, but yeah, this video was a little bit shorter than I thought. I thought it would be a little more in-depth. That first line was a zinger, dude. Yeah, it's pretty much what I said in the last video, guys. He's not speaking against, to the guy that has a 308 Neon's whitetails at 200 yards. He was mainly saying when you're first getting into it. A lot of the stuff made perfect sense. He was right about all of it, as I mentioned in that video, right? And I am interested to hear this, and if you guys are into shooting, you should stick around, because I am actually very interested in what this says.
Competitor, we don't need to be infighting amongst each other. And I very seldomly see people being rude to each other in the comments, and I encourage you guys to comment on the video as long as we have a civil discussion down below. If I do see people being rude to one another or being blatantly rude towards me in the comments, you will just be relegated to the shadow realm where you think you can still comment, but your comment just goes into a dark back room there with a girl with a whip, and she's not sexy. Now, if you haven't seen the video I'm referring to,
okay, he didn't really get into anything, but overall point, guys, like I said, yeah, that was pretty much what I gathered from the video as well. I figured it was going to be a little bit more of kind of a misunderstanding on a lot of it. But anyways, still a good kind of rebuttal. That first line was good. And she's not pretty. That was pretty solid too. But as mentioned, guys, stick around. I think there'll be a lot more fun coming from some channels like this. We're having a bit of a switch over at the moment where there's a lot of these newer cartridges coming out that people are switching to. A lot of people are mad about it. So I'm sure we're going to see a lot of internet feuds coming up. We're going to be able to see it. We have a lot of actual hunting and shooting coming up on this channel, so it's going to be good. Make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and we will see you next time.